very clear to me that AI is going to change most aspects of what we work on and how we work. And the way I would suggest that product managers think about it is in three categories. So, first is what does it mean for the product or products that I manage? Second, what does it mean for team and how we do our work as a team? And what might teams look like in the future? What might companies look like in the future? And I'm not talking 10, 20 years from now. I'm even talking 2, 3, 5 years from now. And the third category is what does it mean for the PM role? What does it mean for my career and my goals? So, my main suggestion is like, I want everybody to kind of think about each of these three categories because too often I find people are just focused on one of these and not the others. So now let's take each one by one. So the first one, which is how does this affect my product? Well, there are a few observations I'll make. If you are in certain categories and industries, you will be completely disrupted by what's happening with AI, right? And so when that is the case, obviously you've got to pay very close attention to what's going on. There are many examples of such categories and verticals, but let's take contact center software, right? I don't think call centers and contact centers and support teams exist in the same way they do right now within 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Now, I don't know whether it's 2 years or 5 years, but I know it's that range. And that's what matters. Right? So what does this mean? If you're building some SaaS software for customer support or for contact centers, outbound sales, inbound sales, whatever, well, you will have to make some really tough choices. Even if it's the case that your founder or your CEO or your management is not listening yet or is ignoring the threat, I would recommend that you create a rigorous perspective of what this means and use your influence to continue advocating for what needs to change and how it needs to change and present a compelling and clear plan, present details if they don't understand the high level stuff, try different ways of communicating, take ownership. Don't just kind of sit and say, well, like, I guess they don't want to do anything, so I'll continue my job, because you might not have that job. And even if it's hard to advocate for these changes, ultimately, if you succeed, you're actually going to hopefully get appreciated for being the one spearheading and for being the one taking initiative. The second category is like, how does this affect teams? How does this affect how work gets done? Well, clearly, we are seeing all sorts of ways in which it affects how work gets done, right? You take the typical PM job of like, ooh, I'll take notes. And like the PM always raises their hand and then takes notes and sends it over. Pretty soon, AI will generate really good summaries of things. And, the interesting part is you have to think about all kinds of access that your AI bot, your meeting bot will have to other meetings and other context that it can bring to you, right? Like there's all sorts of really interesting things that could happen, right? And you've got to be thinking about that. You've got to be maybe even in some cases an early adopter of that if your organization kind of encourages it or allows it, right? Because it kind of shows initiative, it shows high agency. But here's the most interesting thing on the team front. I think over time teams are going to get smaller because designers are going to be much more productive, engineers are going to be much more productive, PMs are going to be much more productive, marketers are going to be much more productive. So what does that mean when team sizes get smaller? What that means is that you have to do less coordination. So these are things that will impact how you do your work, right? And like what teams look like, which then brings me to the last category, which is what does this mean for you as a PM and for your career, right? So the first thing I want you to be aware of is that the main part of the PM job was never all this kind of taking notes, running SQL, doing basic project management. There are many people who are largely performing that job in a PM role today. It's like 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, 99% at times, right? So as teams shrink, as there's more automation, what you're going to find is the real part of the PM job becomes more important, which is insight into the market, insight into the customer, insight into the user's mindset, creative solutioning, high agency, influential communication. A lot of those things, which were sort of the main things that, main traits and skills that created outsized value, are going to be even more important. And some of these other things, the operational things, will get commoditized. So, from a skills building perspective, from a career growth perspective, it's worthwhile to think about how you can intentionally grow your skills if you have some deficiencies in these areas. So make an intentional effort to grow those skills, because the PMs who do that are going to be able to have much greater job security and are going to be, overall sought after by the companies in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years as the way we do our work changes. And so I hope this is helpful for folks as they think about how to navigate this.